Yi Xinhuan saw the situation and said ferociously, "A bunch of traitors! Give them a good beating and let them know the consequences of being loyal to this little bitch." The Fan family's guards received the order and immediately started to fight with the Yi family's guards. Yun Chujio squinted her eyes and looked. Although the Yi family's guards were more numerous than the Fan family's, their strength was indeed inferior by a large margin. They definitely could not beat them. Yun Chujio did not shout out to stop them, nor did she ask Di Biming to make a move. This guy was very evil. Those guards of the Yi family were all very crafty. It would be good to use the Fan family to teach them a lesson. Moreover, no matter who was beaten up, there would be complaints. Planting a seed of hatred towards the Fan family in their hearts would only bring benefits. It was only until the guards of the Yi family were basically unable to retaliate that this guy shouted, "Stop fighting! If you continue to fight, people will die. Don't you just want me to surrender?" "I agree." Yi Xinhuan snorted coldly, and the guards of the Fan family finally stopped. The guards of the Yi family were all beaten into a sorry state. They supported each other as they stood up. One could imagine the resentment they felt towards Yi Xinhuan. On the contrary, their impression of Yun Chujio was much better. Look at her cousin's young miss. In order not to let them lose their lives, she was willing to surrender herself. Such a master was really too rare. Yi Xinhuan looked at Yun Chujio with disdain. "At least you're sensible. You two go over and tie her up for me." The two guards of the Fan family walked towards Yun Chujio in a carefree manner. Although they had heard about what had happened previously, they felt that it was definitely a trick played by Yun Chujio. They did not put Yun Chujio in their eyes at all. The two guards walked closer and closer, but nothing happened. The expressions on their faces became even more savage. As long as they caught this Yun Chujio, the madam would definitely reward them generously. Just as the two guards were dreaming, a huge force attacked them. Their bodies flew out uncontrollably, knocking down the wall that the guards of the Yi family had just repaired. They spat out blood and passed out. Yi Xinhuan and the guards of the Fan family could not help but take a few steps back, feeling a sense of panic in their hearts. On the other hand, the guards of the Yi family suddenly felt elated. Even the wounds on their bodies did not seem to hurt anymore. They wished that the remaining guards of the Fan family and Yi Xinhuan would be sent flying. Yi Xinhuan had the thought of retreating because she had seen with her own eyes that Yun Chujio did not move at all. Moreover, the two guards were still quite a distance away from her. How could they be sent flying? Could it really be retribution? However, when she thought of Fan Sushue who was beaten to a pulp, her resentment gained the upper hand. She said to the guards behind her, "All of you attack at the same time. Regardless of whether you live or die, use your spiritual power to attack directly." Yi Xinwen's idea was very simple. If she used the spiritual power attack, she did not need to get too close to Yun Chujio. Even if Yun Chujio had some tricks up her sleeve, she would not be able to use them. "Aunt, madam, you can't do this. The old master will be back soon." The young commander of the Yi family's guards immediately tried to dissuade her. The maid next to Yi Xinhuan slapped him in the face. "Get lost. How can you have the right to speak when our madam is doing things?" That little commander was slapped by a maid, so he naturally could not hold back his face. In his fury, he said to the Yi family's guard behind him, "Brothers, if the young miss dies, we won't be able to live either. Let's fight it out with them." Instantly, the Yi family's guard and the Fan family's guard once again fought. Yun Chujio frowned. What kind of madness were these guards of the Yi family? Initially, she had planned to let Di Biming wipe out the guards of the Fan family. But now, they were in a scuffle and there was no way to attack. There was really no way. She did not do anything. How did these people turn from fence-sitters to little white Yang? Could it be that the glory of her humanity had awakened their conscience? Yi Xinhuan looked at Yun Chujio viciously. "Little bitch, you're just like that bitch mother of yours. You're used to flirting." Before Yi Xinhuan could finish her words, she flew out like a kite with a broken string. After a long while, she heard a thump. Yun Chujio touched her chin. That old bitch was most likely sent flying into the pond in front of her by that pretty boy. Seeing that their master was sent flying, the guards of the Fan family did not care about the guards of the Yi family anymore. They all jumped out of Xiaohua Garden to save Yi Xinwan. The guards of the Yi family looked at each other and did not know what to do. Yun Chujio took out a bottle of hemostatic pills from her storage ring and threw it to the little commander. "Treat your injuries first. I think they will be back soon." The little commander opened the bottle cap and saw that although the grade of the pills inside was not high, they were actually transcendent grade pills. He could not help but feel shocked and touched. After thanking her, he distributed the pills to everyone. Not long after, Yi Xinwen's vicious curses were indeed heard from afar. Yun Chujio could not help but shake her head. Some people just did not learn their lesson. Anyone with a brain would not come and humiliate themselves. This Yi Xinwan was really a self-righteous idiot. No wonder Yilan could easily set her and that Fan Jichuan up back then. The value of such an idiot was to be used by others. This time, Yi Xinwan was probably also used by Lu Shi. However, the opponent they met was her. It was destined that their ending would be to steal the chicken but end up losing the rice. Sure enough, Yi Xinwan walked in with people cursing and swearing. Although her clothes had been dried by her spiritual power, her meticulously combed hair was wet into a ball, looking extremely comical. "Little bitch. I don't care what tricks you used. If you don't obey obediently today, I'll set Xiaohua Garden on fire." As Yi Xinwan said this, she got her subordinates to prepare to set the place on fire. Yun Chujio thought of a saying, "A tree wants to be quiet, but the wind doesn't stop." Sometimes, it's not enough for you to calm things down. Take Yi Xinwan and her daughter for example. She didn't provoke them, but they came to provoke her again and again. Forget it. Yi Xinwan already saw her as a thorn in her side, so there was nothing to be afraid of. Yun Chujio thought of this and smiled lightly. She slowly walked towards Yi Xinwan. "Aunt, didn't you want to teach me a lesson? I'm here." When the guards of the Fan family saw Yun Chujio walking over, they could not help but step back. Yi Xinwan cursed angrily, "It's just a little bish. If any of you dare to step back, I'll kill him. You guys go up and capture her." Although the guards were afraid, they didn't dare to disobey her. They rushed towards Yun Chujio and flew out one after another. Yi Xinwan was really a little timid this time. She said with a stern face but a weak heart, "Little bitch, you don't come over. Auntie, you're the one who asked me to come over, and you're the one who didn't want me to come over. With your inconsistency, I don't know what to do. Why don't you come over?" Yi Xinwan wasn't willing to go over. She turned around and wanted to run, but suddenly a huge pressure came over, and she couldn't move at all. She watched Yun Chujio walk in front of her. Yun Chujio saw that Yi Xinwan did not move and knew that it was the work of Di Biming. She curled her lips. "It was good to have a strong backer. And, I really don't understand. I have never offended you, why do you have to target me? It's fine if you usually insult me, but you still want to occupy my courtyard and even poison me to ruin my looks. What is the reason for this?" Yi Xinwan was about to speak. Yun Chujio chuckled. "Actually, I know even if you don't tell me. Because of your inferiority complex, you were suppressed by my mother's halo until you lost all luster. You can't compete with my mother, so you want to vent your resentment on me. Tsuke, I have to say that you're really good at deceiving yourself. You'll never be able to compete with my mother in this lifetime. Even your daughter can't compete with me. Stop dreaming." Yi Xinwen's vicious gaze was like a poisonous snake. "Little bitch, you're spouting nonsense. I can't compare to that Yilan? What a joke. That Yilan was so insufferably arrogant back then. What happened in the end? Didn't she still marry a lowly person? Did she give birth to a trash like you? As for me, I'm the wife of a super aristocratic family. My son is the most favored junior in the Fan family. My Su Shui is 10,000 times stronger than you. Her spiritual power and family background are much higher than yours. You will never be able to compare to her in this lifetime. Tsuke, I really sympathize with you. Sometimes, self-deception is also a kind of skill. Do you still need me to remind you of what happened back then? It's just your honey and your arsenic. As for Fan Su Shui, TSK, I don't need to compete with her spiritual power, nor do I need to compete with her family background. I just need to be more beautiful than her. As Yun Chujio spoke, she lifted the veil on her face. Her beautiful face instantly stunned everyone present, especially the bright confidence in her eyes, which burned Yi Xinwen's confidence. How can you not be disfigured? This is impossible. Yi Xinwan shouted in disbelief. She was clearly disfigured. I can't help it. Who asked me to be the darling of Tiandao? I was disfigured on the first day, but I recovered the next day. Don't you think it's infuriating? Yi Xinwan felt her head buzzing. She was completely devastated by the fact that Yun Chujio was not disfigured. And, although my mother and you are not on good terms, we are not mortal enemies, right? Why do you have to target me? Did someone say something to you that shouldn't be said? Besides, I'm also very puzzled. How did cousin Su Shui get disfigured by the salt-free powder? Is it really the retribution of Tiandao, or have you guys been schemed against? TSK, you don't have to doubt me. I've never even left Xiaohua Garden. Moreover, my appearance has already recovered to its original state. Why should I provoke you guys? Yi Xinwan couldn't help but think of Lu Shi and Yi Binging. If it wasn't for their instigation, even though she couldn't stand Yun Chujio, she might not have thought of occupying the courtyard. If Yi Binging hadn't kept talking about how beautiful Yun Chujio was in front of Su Shui wouldn't have suggested poisoning her. All of this was instigated by the mother and daughter. However, Yi Binging was also disfigured. How could she explain this? And, do you think that Yi Binging is no longer a suspect just because she's disfigured? I think that there might have been a slight deviation in their plan. That's why she accidentally got herself involved. It can only be said that it's retribution, Yun Chujio said with a smile. Dog eat dog was the most interesting thing. Even if they couldn't really fight, it was still good to prevent them from joining forces. The expression on Yi Xinwen's face changed a few times. Then, she glared at Yun Chujio and said, I will naturally settle the score with them. You won't be able to escape either. Let's wait and see. Auntie, let's not talk about waiting and see. Even if I run, I will accompany you. However, those who go against me usually don't have a good ending. You have to be careful. Yun Chujio said indifferently. Of course, she would not naively think that a few words from her would be enough to make Yi Xinwan abandon evil and become good. Yi Xinwan looked at Yun Chujio's beautiful face and wished that she could destroy it immediately. However, she also felt that today's matter was too strange. If she were to find fault with it again, she was afraid that it would not end well for her. Just as Yi Xinwan was in a dilemma, Old Master Yi rushed back. Old Master Yi had already prepared himself for the worst on the way back. He felt that Yun Chujio was most likely going to suffer. Especially if Yi Xinwan found out that she wasn't disfigured, her life would be in danger. Old Master Yi saw from afar that the courtyard wall of Xiaohua Garden had collapsed, and there were more than 10 people lying on the ground. It's over. It's over. Those lying on the ground must be the Yi family's guards. Little Jiao must have been killed. Old Master Yi sighed repeatedly. He hurried over but didn't expect to come back late. Housekeeper Fu, who was at the side, said in surprise, Old Master, those lying on the ground seem to be the Fan family's guards. They aren't our Yi family's guards. Old Master Yi took a closer look. It was really true. How was this possible? The Fan family guards were much more powerful than their Yi family guards. Old Master Yi came closer and saw that Yun Chujio had already taken off her veil. There were no signs of injury. On the other side, Yi Xinwen's hair was still dripping with water. Her clothes were also full of water stains. What on earth was going on? Yun Chujio saw Old Master Yi and her eyes immediately turned red. Great-grandfather, you're finally back. Aunt wants to kill me. I was scared to death. Everyone present looked at Yun Chujio with a dumbfounded expression. It was rare to see someone so shameless. Especially the guards of the Fan family. They were all lying on the ground. When they heard Yun Chujio's words, they spat out another mouthful of blood and fainted again. Yi Xinwan was so angry that she gritted her teeth. Grandfather, don't listen to her nonsense. Yun Chujio wiped her tears with her sleeve. How am I spouting nonsense? Aren't you here to kill me? Didn't your people cause my courtyard wall to collapse? Didn't you threaten me just now? Let me wait and see? If it weren't for my good luck, I might have turned into a corpse by now. You're my biological aunt. Don't you feel sorry for your conscience by treating me like this? Yi Xinhuan could not utter a single word. Yes, she was indeed here to kill this little bastard, but why was it that in the end, not only were the guards of the Fan family heavily injured, even Su Shui was beaten half to death? Why was this so? Old Master Yi was clearly a little dumbfounded as well. He could only beckon the little commander to come over and ask about the situation. The little commander hated Yi Xinhuan to death now, and his favorable impression of Yun Chujio rose rapidly. Thus, in the process of narrating, he could not help but slightly refine it. Great-grandfather Yes' expression was uncertain. On one hand, it was because he was displeased with Yi Xinhuan and her mother. On the other hand, he was very curious about how Yun Chujio did it. As for what kind of retribution, great-grandfather Yi naturally did not believe it. Great-grandfather Yes' face was dark as water as he said to Yi Xinhuan, "You're an elder, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you going back?" Yi Xinhuan glared at Yun Chujio coldly and left with the Fan family's guards. The fainted Fan family's guards were also woken up and helped to leave. Great-grandfather Yi waved his hand, and the Yi family's guards retreated outside Xiaohua Garden. Great-grandfather Yi and Yun Chujio went to Xiaohua Garden's study room. "Tell me what exactly happened?" Old Master Yi stared at Yun Chujio and asked. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. "I don't know either. I guess someone helped me in the dark. Sometimes when I'm in danger, someone will help me in the dark. Maybe my mother showed herself." It would be a ghost if old Master Yi believed her words. However, he could not press her too hard. He could only sigh. "Little Jio, no matter who is behind you, the Fan family is not someone you can afford to offend. I understand Xinwen's character. This matter will definitely not be let off easily. You should try to stay in the Xingtian Academy in the future. If you want to return to the Yi family, tell me in advance. They'll send someone to pick you up. Don't go out alone, understand?" Yun Chujio thought about the meaning behind old Master Yes' words. Although on one hand she was indeed worried about her safety, she also had the intention of keeping a distance from her. This was because she had never heard of anyone who needed to communicate in advance if they wanted to return home. However, it was also understandable. Fan Sushui had been beaten by her until she could not get out of bed for half a year. The Fan family would definitely be dissatisfied with the Yi family. After Aunt and the others leave, I will return to Xingtian Academy. I have missed a lot of classes at this stage. In the future, I will be at ease and study hard in the academy. I will try my best not to go out." Yun Chujio said with a faint smile. They were all old foxes, so they were very clear about the subtext in both parties' words. Old Master Yi nodded and said, "I hope Dr. Deng can really develop an antidote for salt-free powder. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to protect you." Yun Chujio's heart moved, and she frowned slightly. "I did see Dr. Deng yesterday, and I heard that he has some clues. However, it seems that the antidote for salt-free powder requires several mid-grade heaven-grade spirit herbs. I'm afraid the price is not cheap." Old Master Yi was delighted. "Is it true? As long as we can develop the antidote, even spending more spirit stones is worth it." Yun Chujio nodded. "Dr. Deng said so yesterday. I reckon that there will be some clues in a few days." Old Master Yes' heart brightened up a little. As long as Fan Suksha's face was cured, the rest of the matters would be much easier to handle. Great-grandfather Yi gave a few more instructions before leaving Xiaohua Garden. Yun Chujio turned around and entered her bedroom. Di Baiming was meditating and cultivating when he saw her enter. Only then did he open his eyes. "What did great-grandfather Yi say to you?" Yun Chujio recounted what had happened, then she said self-deprecatingly, "The Yun family and I are not related by blood, but they are sincere to me. The Mo family and the Yi family are my family, but their actions are extremely chilling. If not for my meticulous planning, I'm afraid they would have treated me as an abandoned child long ago." You have me, why do you care about them? It's better not to have such a family. Di Baiming saw that Yun Chujio was in a low mood and said while stroking her hair. Yun Chujio grunted. In her previous life, she was an abandoned child, so she yearned for family ties. Otherwise, according to her character, she would have dealt with those people from the Mo family long ago. Moreover, even if she was extremely intelligent, her spiritual power was still too weak. If she didn't have the protection of her family, she wouldn't be able to stand on her own feet now. Yun Chujio could not help but laugh at herself. She was really a pot calling the kettle black. Old Master Yi was focused on the interests of the family, and she was just looking for a place to stay. It was not a big deal. When Di Baiming heard Yun Chujio's words, his heart ached. He knew Yun Chujio's desire for kinship and family, but he could not give her anything now. He could not even give her a guarantee of stability. Di Baiming was initially hesitant about one thing, but now he had made up his mind. He could not continue this little by little anymore. Even if it was a risk, he had to give it a try. Otherwise, if he wanted to live a stable life, it would be a distant future. Yun Chujio did not know that Di Baiming had already made an extremely risky decision. She said to Di Baiming, "Prince Charming, you should sleep for a while. Yi Xinwan will probably not come to find trouble in a while. I will keep an eye on her from outside." Di Baiming wanted to clear his mind, so he took the opportunity to agree. Yun Chujio saw that Di Baiming had laid down. She went out of the house and supervised the servants sent by housekeeper Fu to repair the wall. As this guy watched, Badwater came out. He took out cinnabar from his storage ring and wrote a big line of words on the wall. When the servants and guards saw the words written by Yun Chujio, they were like dogs. On the bluestone wall, there was a line of words that were as red as blood. Whoever destroys Xiaohua Garden will be punished. A woman's face will be disfigured, and a man will have no descendants. After Yun Chujio finished writing, she felt very satisfied. The most important thing for a woman was her appearance, and the most important thing for a man was naturally his children. Although many people might not believe in this curse, people's imagination was very strong. She did not believe that anyone would take the risk of being cursed and destroy Xiaohua Garden. The handymen who were repairing the wall were originally doing their work casually. After seeing this line of bright red words, they immediately became cautious, as if they were not holding a brick but their descendants. The guards looked at each other. This cousin lady was really mean. It was just that her handwriting was too ugly. It was said that people were like their words, but it did not seem to be the case. Yun Chujio was admiring her calligraphy when she heard a commotion coming from afar. Yun Chujio waved at the guard commander and said, "Go and see what's going on. Come back and report to me." The guard commander ran away happily and returned in a short while. "Young lady, it's Aunt and First Madam who are quarreling. They were about to start fighting, but someone went to report to the old madam. After the old madam came, they stopped both sides." Yun Chujio curled her lips. "TSK, why did they start fighting all of a sudden? We are all relatives, why bother?" The little commander's eyes twitched. "Don't you know why they started fighting? You were the one who instigated it, all right? Now you are pretending to be innocent." Yun Chujio turned around and entered the house. She wanted to show off, but only then did she remember that Di Baiming was sleeping. She blinked her eyes and took out a dagger from her storage ring. She bared her teeth and put more than 20 small jade bottles of blood into it. She put the small jade bottles into the wooden box. After thinking for a while, she took out a small bamboo basket and placed the wooden box on the lowest level. On top of it, she put some spirit fruits and other food into the storage ring. This fellow couldn't help but laugh at himself. Just treat it as a blood donation. In any case, as long as this thing didn't lose too much in one go, it wasn't a big deal. This fellow spoke so casually, but he suddenly felt a little dizzy. Damn it, he had placed too much in one go. Yun Chujio took a moment to recover and ate something. Only then did she feel a little better. She sorted out some medicinal pills and some food. She even prepared a few sacks for Di Baiming. She sighed. She had yet to learn the drawing method of high-grade talismans. Otherwise, she could give the pretty boy dozens of sacks. She decided to go to the second or third grade class when she went back. She wanted to see if she could learn how to draw high-grade talismans and high-grade elixirs. She suddenly found a goal to strive for. She felt full of energy. Di Baiming woke up in less than 4 hours. When he saw Yun Chujio, he frowned slightly and asked, "Why do you look a little pale? Is that so? Maybe I haven't been basking in the sun recently, so I'm getting fairer and fairer. Isn't one white covering all ugliness? Prince Charming, do you think I'm even more beautiful?" A certain Jiao asked shamelessly. Di Baiming snorted non-committally. A certain Jiao was instantly unhappy. "What do you mean by snorting? Are you even more beautiful?" Di Baiming only raised his eyebrows and did not say anything. Yun Chujio continued to ask non-stop. Di Baiming seemed to find it very interesting to tease her. A certain Jiao was so angry that she stomped her feet. The two of them played around for a while. Di Baiming said seriously, "I don't think Yi Xinwan will let this go. Try not to go out in the Xingtian Academy. After this period, I will ask An Feng to come back and protect you." Yun Chujio nodded. "Oh right, my Prince Charming, I've prepared some food for you. You can keep the chili noodles for yourself." Di Baiming did not care too much about it and allowed Yun Chujio to transfer the items into his storage ring. The two of them seemed to have a lot to talk about, but time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, it was already midnight. Yun Chujio pursed her lips and pretended to be strong as she said, "Prince Charming, it's time. You should go. Otherwise, when the sun rises, it will be hard to get away." Di Baiming clenched his fists. He wanted to say something, but he swallowed it back. Forget it, the outcome of the matter was not certain yet. He should not let little Jiao worry about it. Di Baiming gritted his teeth. "I'm leaving. You take care of yourself." After Di Baiming finished speaking, he pushed open the door and disappeared with a leap. Yun Chujio caught up to the door and only saw an afterimage. She was stunned for a moment before closing the door and lying back on the bed. What she did not know was that Di Baiming had left and returned. He stood at the door for a long time before sighing silently and leaping towards the guest house. While Di Baiming and Yun Chujio were talking, he had already found out the location of the guest house. He felt that it was necessary to give the Yi family a warning so that they would not provoke little Jiao for a short period of time. When Di Baiming arrived at the guest house, he waved his sleeves and the guards fell to the ground one after another. Di Baiming used cinnabar to write the word "kill" on the ground in the courtyard and then slapped the house. The house in the guest house collapsed with a loud bang. Screams and exclamations came from inside the house. Di Baiming raised his eyebrows and disappeared into the night with a leap. Yun Chujio heard the commotion in the guest house and her heart skipped a beat. She immediately guessed that it was Di Baiming's doing. Her heart was sweet and sour. How could she sleep? This guy simply got up and jumped onto the roof to watch the show. That night, the Yi residence was in chaos again. It was said that when Yi Xinwan saw the bright red word "kill" in the middle of the courtyard, she fainted from fright. A certain Jiao watched the show for a while before returning to her room with her head drooping. She hugged a certain portrait and fell asleep. The next morning, the 6 servants in the servants' room finally woke up. They were very puzzled. Why did it feel like they had slept for a long time? When the 6 of them came out of the room and saw the brand new wall, they were immediately at a loss. The 6 of them did not have time to think about it. They suddenly felt very hungry. How could they be so hungry after only sleeping for one night? It was really strange. When 2 of the maids came back with breakfast, they realized that they had not slept for one night. It was clearly 1 day and 2 nights. The little devil was really sneaky. Was he planning to make them unable to sleep for a long time? Just as the 6 of them were cursing in their hearts, Yun Chujio yawned and came out. After Yun Chujio saw the 6 of them, she asked, "You're awake? Do you think that I've gone too far by letting you sleep for so long?" The 6 of them shook their heads repeatedly. What a joke! How would they dare to express their dissatisfaction? "Sigh, you really don't understand my good intentions. Yesterday, my aunt and Fan Sushue came to find trouble. If you hadn't fallen asleep, would you still be standing here and talking to me? I reckon that they would have long been killed by the rod of their anger." Yun Chujio sighed and said, The 6 servants were stunned at first, then they revealed expressions of gratitude. They felt that they really had the heart of a petty person. Miss Biao had made them fall asleep completely out of the perspective of protecting them. They actually blamed the young miss. They were really worse than pigs and dogs. Fan Sushue was seriously injured and could not move, and Yi Xinwan was scared to death. The mother and daughter of Lu Shi were afraid that Yi Xinwan would be jealous and hate them again, so they did not dare to do anything evil. Therefore, for the next few days, the Yi family was peaceful. On this day, Dr. Deng came to see Yun Chujio in a hurry. When he saw the red words on the wall, the corner of his eyes could not help but twitch. This Miss Yun was really mean. After Dr. Deng saw Yun Chujio, he said, "There are some clues about the antidote, but I still need to try a few more times to confirm the specific ratio. Miss Yun, tell me the truth. Did you already know the antidote formula for the salt-free powder?" Dr. Deng was not a fool. How could it be so coincidental? The herbs in the wooden box were all needed for the salt-free powder antidote. Also, how did she know that the violet blood forsythia needed to be roasted to be used as medicine? Yun Chujio said with a smile, "I found out by chance, but I only know which herbs I need. As for the specific ratio, I don't know. I'm only a level 10 alchemist. How can I be as experienced as you?" Dr. Deng originally felt that he had been toyed with. Now that he heard Yun Chujio say this, he felt a little better. Speaking of which, although she knew how many herbs she needed. But if she didn't have enough experience, she wouldn't be able to figure out the exact formula. "Old Miracle Doctor, since the antidote is about to be developed, it's time for you to make a condition to my aunt and my first aunt. You only need to make 2 conditions. As there are several mid-grade heaven rank elixirs, the cost is huge. Sell them 50 million high-grade spirit stones for a bottle, and make them swear that they will never harm you. Don't worry, even if they feel that the conditions are too excessive, they will comply, because they have no other choice." Dr. Deng was a little reluctant, but he had already boarded the pirate ship, so he could only agree. After Yun Chujio sent Dr. Deng away, she hummed a little tune and entered the house. This guy remembered that he hadn't told Di Biming about her bleeding. After counting the days, it was impossible for Di Biming to come back and settle the score with her, so he took out the voice transmission talisman and told Di Biming about the matter. After Yun Chujio told Di Biming about the exsanguination, she waited for Di Biming's reply with trepidation. She could foresee the storm of scolding. After all, Di Biming had told her last time that he would never allow her to exsanguinate again. After a while, the sound transmission talisman started to vibrate. Yun Chujio did some mental work for a while before she sent her spiritual sense into the sound transmission talisman. "Okay, I got it." What? It was that simple? He didn't blame her? Did the gigolo take the wrong medicine? Yun Chujio felt that the situation was a little strange, but it was better not to be scolded. The gigolo was probably faking it, but he was actually very angry in his heart. He would deal with her next time they met. It must be like this. Perhaps it was because Di Biming's threat to Yi Xinwan last time was effective, so she didn't find trouble with Yun Chujio again. Dr. Deng did as Yun Chujio said and proposed 2 conditions to Yi Xinwan and Lu Shi. Although Yi Xinwan and Lu Shi were very reluctant, they could only grit their teeth and agree for the sake of their daughter's appearance. Yi Xinwan and Lu Shi's private savings were almost all spent after this. One could imagine the pain in their hearts. Even though Yi Xinwan and Lu Shi had sworn an oath, Dr. Deng still moved away from Yi City after the matter was over. After all, 50 million high-grade spirit stones were enough to open a pharmacy anywhere. After Fan Suksha's appearance was restored, Yi Xinwan also returned to the Fan family. After earning another wave, Yun Chujio suggested to Old Master Yi that she return to Xingtian Academy. Old Master Yi sent a full 100 guards to protect her in case of danger along the way. Yun Chujio returned to Xingtian Academy safely. When this fellow saw the gate of Xingtian Academy, he couldn't help but sigh. "I Yun Chujio have returned." Students tremble. As expected, when the Xingtian Academy students saw that Yun Chujio had returned, they all took a detour, afraid that she would extort them. Yun Chujio touched her nose. Was it necessary? Didn't she just extort a few people? She was a very reasonable and good student. She still didn't know that the matter of her extorting Lu Jinluan at the entrance of the WA Rock Academy had already spread. Everyone thought to themselves, this fellow even dared to extort a first-class family's daughter, let alone them. It was safer to stay away from her. Yun Chujio hopped into Dean Gongsun's study. Dean Gongsun did not say anything. After all, there was a reason for this matter. After saying a few words, he made her leave. Yun Chujio returned to the dormitory and saw Xue Wuji and Jin Ji. She briefly told them about the matter. Is there anything going on in the academy recently? Yun Chujio took the recording stone that Jin Ji gave her and asked casually. Nothing major, but there is something strange. The brother of Zhu Jingtai who died, Zhu Jingtong, has been growing very fast recently. It is said that he got an opportunity during the test. Little sister Jiao, he has always been hostile to you. You should be careful in the future, said Xue Wuji. Yun Chujio nodded. She did not care too much. In the academy, Zhu Jingtong did not dare to do anything. After Jin Ji and Xue Wuji left, Yun Chujio chewed on the spiritual fruit while listening to the lessons recorded by Jin Ji, in case she couldn't keep up with the progress of the lessons. The next day, Teacher Dong saw that Yun Chujio didn't ridicule her, but when the lessons were over he said, although some people's spiritual power has already reached a medium level, if they fish in 3 days and fish in 2 days, I'm afraid they won't be able to learn the illusion technique of spiritual power in their lifetime. Yun Chujio was already used to this Teacher Dong's way of speaking. She knew that this was meant for her to hear. She stood up and said clearly, Teacher Dong, thank you for your teachings. I will make up for the lessons that I have missed. Teacher Dong was stunned by Yun Chujio's stroke of genius. His expression was a little unnatural as he said dryly, it's good that you know. Take care of yourself. After saying that, Teacher Dong flicked his sleeves and left the classroom. However, he seemed to be taking a detour and almost tripped over the doorsill. Yun Chujio was secretly happy. This Teacher Dong was really interesting. During lunch, Yun Chujio said to Xue Wuji and Jin Ji, I'm going to the second grade's day class to listen to the Talisman Seal class in the afternoon. Are you guys going? Xue Wuji and Jin Ji shook their heads. They were not Talisman Seal's masters, so it would be a waste of time if they went. Therefore, after Yun Chujio took a nap, she strolled to the day class alone. Yun Chujio was now a famous person in Xingtian Academy, so the moment she entered the classroom, all the second-year students in the classroom recognized her. Since the second-year Dao Talisman class was an elective class, the students in the classroom were all second-year Dao Talisman students. When everyone saw Yun Chujio, they couldn't help but look at a male student. It was He Hongchuan, who had a conflict with Yun Chujio. Everyone thought that Yun Chujio was looking for trouble with him. He Hongchuan revealed a panicked expression. Yun Chujio was no longer the same as before. She was the daughter of a first-class family. He couldn't afford to offend her. The room was silent. Everyone's eyes flashed with gossip. This Yun Chujio was really arrogant. She actually came to the classroom to take revenge. Just as everyone was imagining it, they saw Yun Chujio walking towards He Hongchuan. Everyone immediately stretched their necks and looked at the two of them. They were going to fight. They were going to fight again. Ever since Yun Chujio asked for a leave of absence, the Xingtian Academy had not been lively for a long time. Today, they could finally feast their eyes. He Hongchuan's face revealed a panicked expression. He gritted his teeth and said, Yun Chujio, this is the academy. Even if your Yi family is powerful, you can't use your power to bully others. Senior He, is there anyone sitting on the empty seat next to you? Let me tell you, I'm not afraid of you. What? Empty seat? He Hongchuan was clearly confused. Wasn't Yun Chujio here to take revenge? Why did she ask about the empty seat? Yun Chujio asked again. He Hongchuan said in a daze, there's no one. That's great. This seat will be mine from now on. They'll be sitting here from now on. Please make way, let me in. Yun Chujio clapped her hands and said excitedly. He Hongchuan's body reacted faster than his brain. He stood up subconsciously and let Yun Chujio sit in the seat against the wall. When he reacted, Yun Chujio was already sitting in the seat and chewing on the spiritual fruit. Cold sweat broke out on He Hongchuan's forehead. It was over. What bad water was this Yun Chujio taking? Did she want to beat him up in front of the teacher? Or was she planning to interfere with his studies so that he would be eliminated during the final exam? All of a sudden, He Hongchuan came up with a lot of scary schemes and tricks, and the cold sweat on his head grew more and more. The other students in the classroom were thinking the same thing as He Hongchuan. This Yun Chujio would definitely seek revenge for the smallest grievance. This time, she must have come up with some bad moves, and there would be a good show to watch in the future. After a while, Teacher Yang, who was teaching the second-year talismans class, walked in. He did not notice that there was an extra student in the classroom. He began to teach the class step by step. Today, we will continue to learn the drawing method of the level 10 earth-splitting talisman. Everyone, look over here, Teacher Yang said as a shadow stone appeared on the podium. The second-grade classroom was different from the first-grade classroom. The first-grade classroom podium was in the middle, while the second-grade classroom podium was at the front. A huge talisman appeared on the shadow stone, and the patterns on it were clearly visible. Teacher Yang pointed at about 1/10 of the talisman with his ring ruler and said, "We've explained this far in the last class. Have you all gone back to practice?" Everyone naturally expressed their intention to go back to practice. Teacher Yang nodded and said, "In that case, I will select a student and let him come up to demonstrate." Teacher Yang looked around and found that all the students were listening to him attentively. Only one student lowered his head and used his finger to draw on the table. He immediately felt a little displeased. He pointed with his finger. "That female student, come up and demonstrate." After Teacher Yang finished speaking, he heard everyone gasp and felt even more displeased. It seemed that this student must have quite a few criminal records. He raised his voice. "That female student, did you hear that?" Yun Chujio was using her finger to draw the earth-splitting talisman when she heard He Hongchuan's trembling voice. "Yun, Miss Yun, teacher is calling you." Yun Chujio raised her head in a daze. Her gaze happened to meet Teacher Yang's gaze. Teacher Yang was stunned. Wasn't this the little devil? Why did he come to the second grade? Could it be that the first grade wasn't tormented enough and he still wanted to stir up trouble in the second grade? "Yun Chujio, why are you here?" Most teachers wouldn't like a student like Yun Chujio who caused trouble. Teacher Yang wasn't surprised. The first thought that flashed through his mind was that this Yun Chujio was here to cause trouble. Yun Chujio stood up and said very naturally, "I'm here to listen to the class." The academy did not prohibit students from listening in on the class, right? Teacher Yang choked. The academy really did not have such a rule, but which normal person would come to the senior class to listen to the class for no reason? Although there is no such rule, but I am a teacher of the talisman class. If you cannot meet my standards, then please leave the classroom and do not disturb the other students in class, Teacher Yang said with slight annoyance. He Hongchuan was just short of cheering for Teacher Yang. His words were too fucking good. Hurry up and get rid of this little devil. Otherwise, he, Teacher Yang's proud student, would not be able to survive. Because his heart was filled with panic, he did not have the mood to listen to the class. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. "Teacher Yang, you are right. You are in charge of your class. Then may I ask, what standards do you have?" Teacher Yang did not expect Yun Chujio to agree so readily. But what criteria did she use to make things difficult for her? He thought for a moment and saw the pattern on the shadow stone. He suddenly had an idea. It's very simple. If you can draw 1/10 of this earth-shattering talisman, then you have met the criteria. However, this drawing is not to be casually drawn. There are no pauses and no mistakes in the middle. Can you do it? Teacher Yang said with some pride. Everyone in the classroom clicked their tongues. It seemed that Teacher Yang didn't like this Yun Chujio very much. This was purely making things difficult for her. The higher the level of the talisman, the more complicated it was. Even if it was 1/10 of the earth-splitting talisman, it was impossible to complete it without several practices. Moreover, this little newbie Yun Chujio was probably just curious and came to listen. If she could successfully draw it, it would be a miracle. Everyone looked at Yun Chujio. They felt that according to Yun Chujio's personality, she would definitely act like a scoundrel. If she acted like a scoundrel and refused to go out, Teacher Yang might not be able to do anything about it. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Teacher Yang, is what you said true? If I draw it, will you allow me to listen in the future? Yun Chujio asked with a smile. Teacher Yang nodded. Of course. If you can do it, I will allow you to listen in on my lessons in the future. Yun Chujio asked He Hongchuan to move aside. She left her seat and walked to the podium. Then, she asked Teacher Yang very naturally, how do I draw? Teacher Yang almost fainted from anger. What did she mean by how do I draw? Yun Chujio saw Teacher Yang's dumbfounded face and quickly added, what I mean is, how do I demonstrate? Do I use a talisman brush to draw? Teacher Yang said unhappily, how else do you think I would draw? Could it be drawing with my finger? Yun Chujio complained in her heart. What's wrong with using her finger to draw? I can use my finger to draw. Don't see too much of it. Even though this fellow was complaining, she still obediently took out the talisman pen from her storage ring and walked to the operating table. There were ready-made talisman papers and demon beast blood on the operating table. Yun Chujio picked up the talisman pen and dipped it in demon beast blood. Everyone thought that when she started drawing, this fellow threw down the talisman pen and ran to the front of the shadow stone. Although everyone did not dare to laugh out loud, they all had gloating expressions on their faces. This Yun Chujio was now on the sedan chair and her ears were pricked. Could it be that she thought that she would be able to successfully draw it just by looking at it for a while? Dream on. He Hongchuan's hands were tightly clenched. There was only one wish in his heart, and that was that Yun Chujio could not draw it. That way, he would no longer be a threat. Teacher Yang watched Yun Chujio's actions coldly from the side. His expression was full of contempt. Although this Yun Chujio was very smart and her spiritual power had improved, she thought too simply about talismans. Only one person out of 1,000 cultivators could draw talismans, and only one person out of 1,000 who could draw talismans could become a talisman master. Only 1 out of 10,000 talisman masters could draw high-grade talismans. So, did this little girl Yun Chujio think that she could draw just by looking at it? She really overestimated herself. Yun Chujio looked at it for a while and then raised her paw. Teacher Yang, I found a problem. Can you please answer it? Teacher Yang curled his lips and said, what problem? Don't drag it out. If you don't meet the standard, even if you find the dean to talk to you, I won't allow you to listen. Yun Chujio said with a smile, it's not a big problem. Can you lend me the ruler? Teacher Yang was stunned and a strange thought arose in his mind. Could it be that this Yun Chujio wanted to hit someone with the ruler? Although Teacher Yang was suspicious, he still handed the ruler to Yun Chujio. The students sitting at the front subconsciously shrank back. This little devil had a criminal record. He would beat people up if they didn't agree with him. It was better to be careful. Yun Chujio was really mean. She deliberately shook the ruler, scaring the few students so much that their hearts almost jumped out. After Yun Chujio broke the ruler. Then she raised the ruler and pointed at a spot on the shadow stone. Teacher Yang, I feel that the lines here are a little strange. If this is a real talisman, I'm afraid that when it is activated, the power of the earth-cracking talisman should be only 1/10 of the normal talisman, or even less. Although the students below were a little afraid that Yun Chujio would find fault, they still laughed out loud. Was this Yun Chujio's brain sick? Would Teacher Yang use a problematic talisman to demonstrate? Who did she think she was? Coming here to act like a big clove of garlic, she really overestimated herself and brought disgrace upon herself. Teacher Yang was amused. Yun Chujio, if you don't know how to draw, just say it. This shadow stone has been used for thousands of years, and no one has ever raised any objections. Besides, how is there anything strange about this line? Although He Hongchuan tried his best to hold it in, his eyes were full of schadenfreude. This Yun Chujio was really stupid. She actually dared to question the information of the shadow stone. This time, even if she acted shamelessly, she wouldn't be able to stay. Yun Chujio glanced at the crowd and said calmly, "The lines here seem smooth, but the person who drew this talisman was probably lacking in spiritual power at that time, so the lines here are obviously weaker. The person who drew it may have discovered this problem later, so the lines at the back also intentionally reduced the strength. This at least ensured that the talisman was completed smoothly, but once it was activated, the spiritual power might very well break here, and at that time, the power of the entire earth-shattering talisman would be greatly reduced." When the students heard Yun Chujio's words, they all scoffed. Some people could not hold it in anymore and whispered, "It seems that this Yun Chujio has been too complacent recently. Does she really think that she is the favored child of Tiandao? That's right. Does she think that it's drawing? And not using force at all? That's pure nonsense. A person should know their own limits. She's really too arrogant." Teacher Yang looked at the shadow stone carelessly and then sneered, "Yun Chujio, what you're saying is pure nonsense. Why would I take out a problematic shadow stone to teach you guys? Get out." Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. "Teacher Yang, is your memory not good? I haven't even started drawing yet. If I can draw 1/10 of the earth-shattering talisman, what right do you have to chase me away?" Teacher Yang choked. He was so angry that he had forgotten that there was such a thing. "If you want to draw, hurry up and draw. Don't waste everyone's time," Teacher Yang said in a bad mood. He felt that Yun Chujio was just being shameless. If she could draw it, it would be a ghost. Then yes, he saw a ghost. All the students in the classroom felt that they had seen a ghost. Yun Chujio held the 1/10 of the ground-cracking talisman in her hand and said with a smile, "Teacher Yang, do you think it meets your standards?" Teacher Yang, who had seen a ghost in broad daylight, could only grit his teeth and said, "It does. However, if you disturb the classroom discipline again, you will get out." Yun Chujio smiled non-committally and swaggered back to her seat. Tears streamed down He Hongchuan's face. It's over. He would have to sit next to this pervert in his talisman lessons. Yun Chujio did not have the time to bother with him. She carefully memorized the earth-shattering talisman on the shadow stone. This thing was much higher in grade than the sudden-shattering talisman, so its power must be pretty good. When she returned to the dormitory, she would definitely draw dozens of sacks of it, so that she could torture it in the future. However, it seemed that she did not have much talisman paper left in her storage ring. She would have to go out and buy more when it was time to rest. Teacher Yang held back his anger and explained a part of the drawing method of the Earth Fisher talisman. After class, he put away the shadow stone and left angrily. After Teacher Yang returned to his office, the teachers saw that his expression was strange. Some of them asked, "Old Yang, what happened to you?" Teacher Yang said angrily, "Don't mention it. That Yun Chujio is that Yun Chujio who loves to stir up trouble the most. I don't know what has gotten into her, but she came to my class to listen in." Just as Teacher Yang finished speaking, Teacher Lu, who was teaching Yun Chujio's talisman seal class, said with a smile, "Although that little girl has a temperamental temperament, she is not unreasonable. She was listening in on a class. Why did she make you so angry?" Teacher Yang looked at Teacher Lu in annoyance. Isn't she unreasonable? If she was just listening in, it would have been fine. But she insisted that there was something wrong with the information on the shadow stone I used in class. Do you think she was just looking for trouble? When the other teachers heard Teacher Yang's words, they immediately echoed, "What? She said there was a problem with the information on the shadow stone? You must be joking. What could a little girl like her see through?" That's right. Besides, the information on the shadow stone has been used for hundreds of years. How could there be a problem? This Yun Chujio was adopted by the Yi family as the daughter of the first wife. The last time, she saved a first-year student at the heavenly pit of the divine axe. She must have been a little too complacent. She really overestimated herself. Everyone was talking at once. Then Teacher Lu asked curiously, "Old Yang, what question did she ask?" The other teachers were also very curious. They all looked at Teacher Yang. Teacher Yang simply took out the shadow stone and then repeated what Yun Chujio said. Then, he said sarcastically, She really overestimated herself. How could a little girl like her see through her strength? And she even said some nonsense about her strength being greatly reduced. It really makes people laugh. When the teachers heard Teacher Yang's words, they all shook their heads. It seemed that this Yun Chujio was really too impetuous. She was simply spouting nonsense. This shadow stone had been used for thousands of years. Could it be that all the teachers were inferior to a little girl like her? The crowd discussed for a while and then switched to another topic. She was just a little girl who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. After being persuaded by everyone, the anger in Teacher Yang's heart had mostly dissipated. Just as he was about to put away the shadow stone, he saw Teacher Lin from the Miscellaneous Affairs Department walk in with a teacher. The teachers from the Talisman office were stunned. Teacher Lin was the chief teacher of the Miscellaneous Affairs Department. Why was he here? Everyone knew Teacher Yuan, who was behind Teacher Lin. Teacher Yuan distributed teaching materials, such as the shadow stone, sound recording stone, or talisman paper needed for teaching. Everyone exchanged pleasantries. Teacher Lin said somewhat embarrassedly, "Everyone, I'm really sorry. Little Yuan used to be in charge of distributing school materials. This year, he only started distributing teaching materials, so he's not very familiar with the business." Teacher Yang and the others were confused. What did his familiarity with the business have to do with their talisman papers? Teacher Lin glared at Teacher Yuan. "You tell me. What's going on?" Teacher Yuan's face turned red. He took out a jade slip. On it was the record of receiving teaching materials. Then he said unnaturally, "I'm really sorry, everyone. When school started, Teacher Yang came to my place to receive a batch of teaching materials. One of them was the shadow stone of the earth-splitting talisman. I took it by mistake. According to the records, the shadow stone in your hand was used to explain a case of failure." The room immediately became silent. The teacher at the talisman seal, especially Teacher Yang, felt that his mind was blank. He actually took a wrong Earth Fisher talisman shadow stone? He was still eagerly lecturing other students. If the affairs department was said to have made a mistake in their work, then he was simply misleading people's children. Teacher Yang's voice was slightly trembling. "Teacher Yuan, show me the description of the shadow stone." Teacher Yuan saw that Teacher Yang's expression was not good and his voice was trembling. He felt that Teacher Yang must be very angry. He quickly showed Teacher Yang the relevant records of the shadow stone. The other teachers also gathered around. On the jade slip, it was written, "Shadow stone number 159, a failure case of the earth-splitting talisman." During the process of drawing the talisman, the spiritual power of the talisman was not sufficient, and the strength of the talisman was obviously weakened at 1/10 of the pattern. Although the talisman was barely completed after adjusting the spiritual power, this talisman was only slightly stronger than the useless one. This case mainly emphasized to the students that during the process of drawing the talisman, the output of spiritual power must be uniform. Even the slightest difference would result in a great difference in the power of the talisman. Teacher Lu walked to the back of the shadow stone and indeed found the number in the lower right corner. It was indeed 159. It seemed that this shadow stone was indeed a defective product, a failure case. Teacher Yang's head buzzed. It was Teacher Lu and the other teachers who helped to get the correct shadow stone. This shadow stone with the number 159 did not return. They wanted to stay and study it again. Teacher Lin and Teacher Yuan exchanged some pleasantries before leaving. The atmosphere at the talisman seal was very awkward. They felt their faces burn. They had participated in the discussion just now, belittling Yun Chujio to the point that she was worthless. They ridiculed her for being a little girl who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. In the end now, it was a slap in the face. Especially Teacher Yang. His face hurt as much as he scolded her previously. Teacher Lu was obviously more open-minded. He smiled and said, "All right, it's inevitable for people to be negligent. It's a good thing that we discovered it earlier. It can also be considered as a lesson for us." As Teacher Lu spoke, he walked up to the shadow stone and carefully observed it. He really did discover the subtle differences in the lines. He could not help but sigh as he looked at it. If I didn't deliberately observe it, I really wouldn't have noticed it. Tell me, how did that Yun Chujio discover it? With Teacher Lu's words, the awkward atmosphere in the room finally eased up a little. A few teachers gathered around and also carefully observed the earth fissure rune patterns on the shadow stone. They had taken it for granted before, so they did not take a closer look. Now that they had seen the problem, their old faces flushed red. Teacher Yang's face was as red as a monkey's butt. With great difficulty, he managed to squeeze out a sentence. Next time during the talisman class, I'll ask that little girl. Everyone knew that he was embarrassed, so they all changed the topic. The awkward atmosphere in the room was finally resolved. A certain Geo did not know that because of her words, the teachers at the talisman office were all embarrassed. She was sitting across from Tiandao Cliff, chatting with Tiandao Cliff. Yun Chujio was talking about the trivial matters of the Yi family. As for the heavenly Dao Cliff, it had been lonely and cold for so many years. Even the trivial matters were listened to with great interest. Occasionally, she would even help Yun Chujio scold them. The sun was setting in the west. Yun Chujio stood up and stretched. Little Tion, I'll come and chat with you another day. I'm leaving. Wait, I remember something. There was a strange person. He seemed to want to go down to the bottom of the valley. I used some divine powers, but he didn't succeed. Who is it? Yun Chujio thought of the divine axe heavenly pit teleportation formation. She felt that it might be related to the person that Tiandao Cliff mentioned. I don't know that person. In my opinion, those people all look the same. Only you are different, Tiandao muttered. You can at least tell if they are students or teachers, right? The corner of Yun Chujio's eyes twitched. It turned out that Tiandao was also face-blind. Teacher, he is wearing the teacher's clothes. Teacher? Yun Chujio was in a dilemma. Xingtian Academy had hundreds of teachers. They couldn't possibly bring their portraits over for the Heavenly Dao Cliff to identify, right? Besides, the Heavenly Dao Cliff had face blindness, so they might not be able to recognize them through the portraits. Besides, although that person wanted to go down to the bottom of the valley, he might not be the one who destroyed the teleportation array. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio told the Heavenly Dao Cliff to pay more attention and remember a few characteristics of that person next time. Then she strolled out of the Heavenly Dao Cliff. As Yun Chujio walked, she thought about the destruction of the teleportation formation last time. Old Master Yi said that this matter had nothing to do with Gushi and Lushi. Then who was the one who instigated it? And who was the one who destroyed the teleportation formation? Yi Xinwan? Yun Chujio felt that it was unlikely. Although people like Yi Xinwan were vicious, they didn't have any shrewdness and wouldn't use such a roundabout method. Moreover, at that time, Yi Xinwan had not been instigated by Lushi, so she should not have wanted to kill her. Yun Chujio thought of the assassination she had encountered in the hidden Tiger City. That person was wearing the clothes of the Yi family, but it did not seem to be someone from the Gushi and Lushi. Could it be that someone from the Yi family wanted her life? Perhaps it was a branch of the Yi family? However, the branch of the Yi family did not have any conflict of interest with her, so there was no need to spend so much money to kill her. The more Yun Chujio thought about it, the more clueless she became, so she simply stopped thinking about it. After returning to the dormitory, this guy seemed to be on steroids. He took out the talisman paper and began to draw the earth-shattering talisman. Although she had already understood the pattern of the earth-shattering talisman by heart, she still failed the first 2 times. Halfway through drawing, due to the unstable output of spiritual power, the talisman paper turned into ashes. Yun Chujio steadied her mind and started drawing the 3rd time. This time she succeeded. However, Yun Chujio shook her head discontentedly. It's only a low-grade talisman. I still need to practice a few more times. Fortunately, there were no outsiders present. Otherwise, if they heard what Yun Chujio said, they would probably be so angry that they would vomit blood. She had already succeeded after drawing only 3 pieces, and you were still not satisfied. What a pervert! Yun Chujio drew a few more pieces and finally succeeded in drawing a supreme-grade earth-shattering talisman. This guy first showed off for a while, Then he started to draw talismans crazily until the blank talismans in his storage ring were all drawn away. Only then did he stop, still not satisfied. TSK, this talisman drawing was also addictive. It seemed that it was better to buy more talismans during the break. Yun Chujio washed up briefly and took out the class schedule for each grade. The next afternoon, the second grade had an alchemy class, so this guy decided to continue his freeloading. Firstly, she had yet to obtain the 7 transformation life creation pill that she had promised the Mo family's great elder. Secondly, Guai Chao's mouth was becoming more and more crafty. He was already fed up with Yun Chujio's existing pills and kept clamoring about being hungry. Therefore, after taking an afternoon nap the next day, this fellow once again came to the second grade's day classroom. As most of the students only chose to take the 5 techniques of cultivators, the students in the classroom were all unfamiliar faces. When they saw Yun Chujio, they were naturally extremely curious. What was this little devil doing here? They heard that she had stirred up some trouble in the Talisman Seal class yesterday. Was she also trying to stir up trouble in the alchemy class? Why did she target the second grade? Why didn't she go to another grade? Among the crowd, a pair of sinister eyes stared at Yun Chujio. It was Zhu Jingtong. Although many people said that Zhu Jingtai's death had nothing to do with Yun Chujio, he still hated Yun Chujio. If she hadn't meddled, his younger brother might not have died. As for Yun Chujio saving other students, what did the lives of those people have to do with him? Zhu Jingtong was afraid that Yun Chujio would discover him, so he quickly averted his gaze. He could not confront Yun Chujio head-on right now. He had to wait for an opportunity, a chance that he could hit with one strike. Yun Chujio glanced around and found an empty seat next to a fatty. She walked over and asked with a smile, "Senior, is there anyone inside?" The fatty stood up and let Yun Chujio enter and sit down. A gossipy light flashed in his eyes as he asked with a flattering smile, "Junior Yun, are you planning to sit in on the alchemy class?" When the fatty saw Yun Chujio nod, he continued to say fawningly, "Your luck is not bad. Normally, our alchemy class goes to the alchemy room. It's just that today is a theory class, so we will be in the classroom." The corner of Yun Chujio's eyes twitched. It was actually a theory class again? Speaking of which, she was also confused. The alchemy class in the classroom was naturally a theory class. Alchemy was not like talisman seals, where one could just find a place to operate it. However, since she had already come, she could not leave now. So, theory was theory. After a while, Instructor Luo, who was in class, walked in. Instructor Luo did not notice Yun Chujio. He said to the crowd, "The alchemy room was originally arranged for the use of the third grade, but because the instructor who taught them had something urgent, their class was cancelled. Therefore, we will still go to the alchemy room for this class. Let's go." The crowd followed Instructor Luo out of the classroom and headed to the alchemy room. Yun Chujio swaggered behind the crowd. She did not look guilty at all, as if she was a second grader. The crowd did not dare to expose her, for fear of her revenge. Thus, this fellow successfully followed the crowd to the alchemy room. This alchemy room was prepared for the students. In the middle was the instructor's operating table, and around it was the student's operating table. Under the operating table was the earth fire that was connected. As long as one pressed the switch, they could use it. It was very convenient. Yun Chujio shamelessly occupied the best spot. The rest of the people dared to be angry but did not dare to say anything. They could only hope that Instructor Luo would discover this dove that was occupying the magpie's nest. Instructor Luo was probably too focused on his lecture and did not pay much attention to it. Of course, he did not think that there would be people who would come to take advantage of the class. The main reason was that no one had ever done this before. Instructor Luo took out some herbs from his storage ring. He said to the crowd, "Today, I will demonstrate the refinement of the level 11 clear heart and break adversity pill. I have already explained the formula to you. Today, I will mainly observe the steps of my refinement." Instructor Luo pointed casually. "You, recite the formula for the clear heart and break adversity pill." Yun Chujio looked at Teacher Luo's finger with an expression of exasperation. Why was it so difficult to get a lesson? Getting a lesson on talismans and now getting a lesson on alchemy, why was it so difficult? The students couldn't help but gloat. They deserved it. I told you to take the best seat, but you got your comeuppance this time, didn't you? Yun Chujio complained in her heart. How would she know the formula for the heart-cleansing and breaking adversity pill? If she knew the formula, she wouldn't have come to the class. Teacher Luo, who was fiddling with the herbs, saw that there was no movement for a long time. He then raised his head and saw the little girl standing there. He cried out in surprise, "Yun Chujio? How did you get in?" Yun Chujio thought to herself, "Of course I walked in. Could it be that I crawled in? Teacher Luo, I'm here to listen in. I've always admired you. I heard from others that the most standard pill refinement technique in Xingtian Academy is you, so I wanted to broaden my horizons. You won't reject my humble request, right?" Yun Chujio said with twinkling eyes. Teacher Luo was stunned at first, then subconsciously straightened his back. The most standard alchemy technique? Yun Chujio was right. Although he wasn't a top-notch alchemist, his alchemy technique was still impressive. "All right, if that's the case, as long as you don't cause trouble, I won't pursue the matter." Teacher Luo indicated that Yun Chujio could continue to stay. The students were all dumbfounded. How could this be possible? Did they just have to suck up to her? Zhu Jingtong gritted her teeth. These instructors must be afraid of the Yi family's influence. They were all snobs. Instructor Luo pointed at another student and asked him to answer the prescription for the heart-shattering adversity pill. When that student answered, Yun Chujio silently memorized it in her heart. The formulas for high-grade medicinal pills were usually not passed on to the public. Only the formulas for medicinal pills below grade 8 were passed on in the world. Even grade 9 and grade 10 formulas were difficult to obtain, not to mention grade 11 formulas. The Mo family's great elder only had a dozen or so formulas in his hands. Seeing that the student answered fluently, Instructor Luo nodded his head in satisfaction and began to refine the clear heart and break adversity pill. Since refining the pill required concentration, Teacher Luo did not explain and only let everyone watch by themselves. Yun Chujio's eyes widened as she watched. The process of refining the pill was not too special. It was just that the students needed to experience the timing and sequence of placing the herbs carefully. Teacher Luo was most likely demonstrating his alchemy skills, so every step was done perfectly. After about an hour, the alchemy furnace began to emit a medicinal fragrance. The strange grass in Yun Chujio's dantian began to stir. Yun Chujio scolded it for a while before it became obedient. It was guaichao. Yun Chujio somewhat understood the feeling of the strange grass. It was like seeing a delicacy that she had never eaten before. Naturally, she would drool. After a while, Instructor Luo opened the alchemy furnace. There were 9 pills at the bottom of the furnace. 5 of them were high grade and 4 were middle grade. Instructor Luo was very satisfied. Normally, his pill success rate was only 80%, but today he actually exceeded his standard. Instructor Luo told everyone the things they needed to pay attention to. Then he asked the handyman to distribute the medicinal herbs and let everyone refine them. The medicinal herbs were all fixed in quantity. A certain Jiao, who came to freeload, could only watch as everyone else was given the medicinal herbs, but she was the only one who didn't have any. This fellow curled her lips. If she did not have any, then so be it. This young lady would practice in secret when she went back, just in time to avoid exposing herself. As there were no medicinal herbs, Yun Chujio could only watch others refine them in boredom. She shook her head as she watched. These people looked like they would not be able to successfully refine the medicine. For example, that boy asking you to refine medicine was not asking you to commit suicide. Why were you trembling? And that girl asking you to refine medicine was not asking you to embroider flowers. It would be strange if she dawdled and succeeded in refining it. Teacher Luo saw that Yun Chujio was continuously shaking her head and could not help but find it funny. This little girl was most likely just curious and thus came to seek lessons. He had heard from teacher Jean that this Yun Chujio was a grade 10 alchemist. However, the difference between an alchemist and a grade 10 alchemist was like the difference between heaven and earth. Moreover, she might not really be a grade 10 alchemist. Some students saw the way Yun Chujio shook her head and cursed in their hearts. This Yun Chujio was too willing to pretend to be a garlic. They heard that she pretended to be a garlic in the Talisman Seal class yesterday and was reprimanded by her teacher. Today, she came to the alchemy class to pretend again. She was really annoying. Although everyone hated her, no one dared to say anything. They could only hope that this little devil would not come to the alchemy class to cause trouble next time. An hour later, everyone finished refining, but no one succeeded. Teacher Luo was not surprised by this result. If one could successfully refine after just one look, then it would be a miracle. Don't be discouraged. Refining pills requires countless practice sessions. When you go back, work on your logistics and practice. In the next class, I will personally point out the deficiencies in your refining process. After teacher Luo finished speaking, he signaled for the class to end. After Yun Chujio greeted teacher Luo, she left the refining room in a hurry. This fellow was in such a hurry. Naturally, he was in a hurry to go back and refine the clear heart-breaking adversity pill. After Yun Chujio returned to the dormitory, she first opened the isolation array and took out the pill furnace and fire refining stone. Just as she was about to refine it, this fellow suddenly remembered a big problem. She didn't have any medicinal herbs. Although there were many herbs in her storage ring, including many heaven-rank herbs that she had extorted from others, she didn't have the earth-rank herbs that she needed for the heart-cleansing doom pill. This fellow was very regretful. If she had known earlier, she would have put away the remaining herbs on the operating table. That way, she could refine at least 2 batches of pills. This fellow had selectively ignored it. Those herbs were all collected by someone, all right? It was not like she could take them away just because she wanted to. This guy wanted to try to refine the heart-cleansing disaster pill right now. It was like a hen trying to lay an egg, but you just wouldn't let it. One could imagine how aggrieved he was. Yun Chujio walked around the room for a few rounds. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. The fragment of the great void mirror that she had extorted from Mayor Huang had not been fused yet. Perhaps after fusing the 7th fragment of the great void mirror, she would be able to produce high-level herbs. Yun Chujio summoned Mao Qiu and handed the fragment of the great void mirror to it. Mao Qiu, hurry up and fuse this fragment with the great void mirror. Mao Qiu was very excited, but it still reminded Yun Chujio, Master, there will be a strange phenomenon when the great void mirror is fused with the fragment, especially since this is the 7th fragment. It will cause a huge commotion. You have to be prepared. Yun Chujio touched her chin. What Mao Qiu said made sense. If the supreme void mirror caused a commotion, it would attract the attention of others. She knew very well that one would be punished for possessing a treasure. This fellow thought about it and decided to fuse with the bottom of the Heavenly Dao cliff. If that was the case, even if there was a strange phenomenon, everyone would only think that it was the Heavenly Dao cliff's strange phenomenon. Yun Chujio thought of this and hurriedly ran to the Heavenly Dao cliff. After confirming that there was no one following her, Yun Chujio got the Heavenly Dao cliff to bring her to the bottom of the cliff, and then she got the ball of yarn to start forming seals. Yun Chujio finally understood what the ball of yarn was talking about. This time, it was really too big. As the ball of yarn formed seals, the great void mirror in Yun Chujio's dantian floated out. The 7th fragment was embedded in a gap, and then the great void mirror emitted a dazzling light. A faint sound of silk and bamboo could be heard in the sky. It's over! It's over! Only a fool would not know that a treasure had appeared at the bottom of the valley. When that time came, many people would definitely think of ways to go down to the bottom of the valley to search for treasures. Yun Chujio was not in the mood to ask what additional abilities the wool ball had. What she was worried about now was how to escape. Although no one had gone down to the bottom in the past, that was because there was no attraction and no one was worth the risk. But it was different now. They would definitely think of a way to go down to the bottom. Yun Chujio was so regretful that her intestines turned green. Even if they did not find her this time, the next time she was struck by lightning, this place would not be safe anymore. If they knew this would happen, they would have gone to another place to fuse with the broken pieces of the great void mirror. The heavenly Tao cliff did not know the worry in Yun Chujio's heart. It said with disdain, "What rubbish is this? It's just a broken mirror, yet it made such a big scene. It's really shameless." The cliff of heavenly axiom would never admit that it was jealous of the supreme void mirror. A broken item actually occupied the little girl's dantian. It was really shameless. The supreme void mirror was obviously not to be trifled with. It could not speak, but it did not mean that it would not take revenge. The supreme void mirror rammed into the cliff of heavenly axiom. The entire mountain of the cliff of heavenly axiom shook from the impact. It was so angry that it scolded, "Damn it! You're really shameless. Why don't you try hitting me again?" Yun Chujio was still upset when she saw the two of them fighting. She cursed angrily, "Little Jingjing, get your ass back here. If you don't come back, you can stay outside from now on." The great void mirror shook a few times and hid between Yun Chujio's brows. "What the fuck? Get your ass over here. What's going on?" Mao Mao Chio looked innocent. "Master, I warned you. It will cause a huge commotion." Yun Chujio choked. All right, it was her fault for not thinking properly. She really did not expect the commotion to be so huge. What should she do now? She could ask the heavenly Tao cliff to send her to the dormitory, but there would definitely be a golden light flashing. When that time came, it would be as if there was no silver in this place. Yun Chujio told the heavenly Tao cliff about her worries. The heavenly Tao cliff said nonchalantly, "What's so difficult about that? Why don't I just use the golden light to block them all?" Yun Chujio shook her head. "It's better not to block them. The more you act like this, the more they think that there are treasures down there. I won't be able to come here to be struck by lightning in the future. Besides, they will block me at the bottom of the hill. I will be discovered the moment I leave. Then what do you think we should do? I can't make you disappear." Tiandao Cliff said helplessly. Yun Chujio's heart skipped a beat. When she was almost killed by the heavenly lightning, the great void mirror was sucked into her body. She wondered if she could try it again now. Yun Chujio shared her thoughts with the ball of yarn. After the ball of yarn communicated with the great void mirror, she said with some difficulty, "Xiao Jing said that every time we bring you in, it consumes a lot of spiritual power. This is a chance to save your life. Are you sure you want to use it?" Yun Chujio hesitated when she heard what the ball of yarn said. It would be a waste if she used it like this. Just as Yun Chujio was in a dilemma, she heard the heavenly Tao cliff say, "There are many people coming this way. Make a decision quickly. Do you want me to block them all?" Yun Chujio gritted her teeth. "Get me further away from Xingtian Academy. It's the day of rest tomorrow anyway. I'll think of a way to sneak in again." As soon as Yun Chujio finished her sentence, she felt a golden light flashing in front of her eyes. When she regained her sight, she wished that she could move the heavenly Tao cliff to the Yugong mountain. She wanted it to get her further away, but couldn't it choose a good place? Why did it teleport her to the heavenly fire valley? Why did it teleport her to the cave of the fire-eating Xiu? Yun Chujio squeezed out a dry smile and waved her claws at the fire-eating Xiu. "What a coincidence, we meet again. It's really fate that brought us together." What did it mean when enemies met and their eyes turned red? This was how the fire-eating Xiu was now. This stinky girl had toyed with it twice and even stole the corpse of a three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle. She actually dared to come back? She was courting death. Yun Chujio saw that fire-eating Xiu's eyes were red, and her hair was standing on end. She hurriedly shouted, "Sir, don't be rash. Listen to me. I came specially to apologize this time. Think about it. I'm not a fool. I knew that you wanted to eat me, so why did I still come to court death? Last time, I was greedy and took away the corpse of the three-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle. After I went back, I was tormented by guilt and regret. I couldn't eat properly and couldn't sleep, so I came to you to confess. I came with sincerity. You are such a noble divine beast, you will definitely forgive me, right? Fire-eating Shio looked at Yun Chujio suspiciously. Although he didn't completely believe her, he didn't take any further action. Yun Chujio saw that there was a door. She quickly said, "Sir, I don't have 2 tails of meat on me. It's not even enough to fill the gaps between your teeth. I can't return the 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle's corpse to you, but I have a lot of pills here. I'll give them to you as compensation." As Yun Chujio spoke, she took out a basin of hemostatic pills and placed it on the ground. Fire-eating Shio's huge eyes were filled with confusion. Since when did humans not use porcelain bottles to store medicinal pills in basins? What? They were all supreme-grade medicinal pills. Were the alchemy skills of humans so advanced now? Fire-eating Shio weighed the 3-eyed purple-tailed iron-clawed eagle's corpse and the basin of hemostasis pills. It seemed that this basin of hemostasis pills was more useful to it. Thus, Fire-eating Shio's attitude completely eased up. Yun Chujio's heart was finally relieved. There weren't many people here, so the golden light just now shouldn't have been seen by anyone. When the limelight passed, she would return to Tianluo City and then sneak into Xingtian Academy without anyone noticing. Those people couldn't find anything at the bottom of the valley, so they would only think about the heavenly Dao cliff. Then the storm would be over. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio changed her clothes and took a 5th of the disguising pills. This way, even if someone really came, her identity would not be exposed. Fire-eating Shio watched as the little girl's appearance began to change. It was very curious. This human's pill was indeed magical. It did not know what it would look like if it ate it. Fire-eating Shio was driven by curiosity. It jumped over and ate the remaining transformation pills in Yun Chujio's hands. Yun Chujio was dumbfounded. Was there something wrong with this fire-eating Shio? Was the medicinal pill also randomly eaten? Moreover, she did not have many transformation pills left. Now, more than half of them were wasted by it. It was really unlucky. Yun Chujio was unlucky. Fire-eating Shio was even more unlucky. Next, Yun Chujio witnessed a miracle. Or rather, she saw a ghost. The huge body of the fire-eating Shio began to rapidly shrink, and its appearance also underwent a huge change. In less than 15 minutes, a hill-sized fire-eating Shio turned into a 1-foot-long fire-breathing cat. Yes, it was still a kitten. The fire-eating Shio looked at its claws, then raised its head to look at Yun Chujio, who had turned into a giant, and fainted with a choking sound. Yun Chujio rubbed her eyes and pinched herself again. Hiss, it really hurts. Yun Chujio felt as if she had opened the door to a new world. So it turned out that this disguise pill could not only change one's appearance, but it could also make demon beasts smaller or even change their species. A beautiful scene instantly appeared in this fellow's mind. She threw out a lot of disguise pills, and those demon beasts instantly turned from big to small and cute. When the time came, she could establish a temporary contract with them, then she could lead the demonic beast army to slaughter everyone. Xiao Hanio asked weakly from inside the spirit beast bag, "Master, why did you establish a temporary contract? Can't you just take them? Are you stupid? Why did you raise so many demonic beasts to eat and drink? I'm so poor raising you guys, how can I raise them?" Xiao Hanio shrunk its neck, and the other 3 looked at it with disapproval on their faces, calling it "you owe me." Why did you ask if there was nothing to do? Did you get scolded? Yun Chujio was reminded of a big problem by Xiao Hanio's interruption. She only had 2 transformation pills left in her hands. No matter how amazing the transformation pills were, she did not have any more. Although she could refine them herself, 2 of them were very rare. One was the lotus seeds of the 1,000-leaf golden grade lotus, and the other was the dragon blood ginseng. It was difficult for a clever woman to cook without rice. No matter how powerful she was, she could not refine them. Just as Yun Chujio's thoughts were running wild, the fire-eating Shio on the ground woke up. Its movements were exactly the same as Mischievous. It rubbed its eyes with its claws and even slapped itself twice. Then, in despair, it realized that everything in its eyes had become incomparably huge. Then, it rolled its eyes and fainted again. Mischievous kicked the fire-eating Shio with the tip of her foot. Isn't your mental quality too bad? It just became a little smaller. Didn't it just change from a fire-eating Shio to a kitten? What's the big deal? The fire-eating Shio, which had just recovered, choked and fainted for the third time. A kitten? It couldn't live anymore. It was a magnificent level 45 demonic beast, but now it had turned into a level 4 fire-breathing cat? Damn it, it was still a kitten. It no longer had the face to live in this world. It had let down its ancestors. It was still a single Shio. It didn't even have a wife. Could it be that it could only marry a cat in the future? And then give birth to a bunch of kittens? The more it thought about it, the more it had no way to live. Fire-eating Shio decided to commit suicide. Therefore, it crashed into a rock. Then, it tragically discovered that it was really too weak. Other than the big bump on its head, it was still alive and kicking. Mischievous watched fire-eating Shio self-harm with relish at the side. From time to time, she even helped to suggest, "Kittens, run a few steps and hit the rock again. That way you will be dead. Kitten, why don't you strangle yourself to death? Walk forward. You'll be eaten by a random demonic beast." The fire-eating Shio was almost angered to death by this fellow. It was all her fault. If it wasn't for her stupid pill, would it have become like this? The more it thought about it, the angrier it got. It spat out a fireball at Mischievous. Mischievous didn't even try to dodge it. She casually pulled, the ball of fire was extinguished. "Kitten, do you think you are still fire-eating Shio? You still dare to attack me? I can crush you to death with one finger. My spiritual pets were just worried about not having any toys. They could use you to have fun." As Mischievous spoke, she released the 3 silly cuties. When the little black bird saw the fire-eating Shio, it cried out, "Wah, where did this little cat come from? There are still such low-level demon beasts in the immortal Yuan continent?" Xiao Hong, the little red fox, directly kicked the fire-eating Shio away with her claws. This damned fire-eating Shio had tormented its master many times. Finally, it could take revenge. Xiao He glanced at the fire-eating Shio that had fallen to the ground like a dog gnawing on its feces. "What the fuck? Why did you have to turn into a kitten? You were deliberately going against it." Therefore, Xiao He and the little red fox, fire-eating Shio, took it as a shuttlecock. One claw. They were having a great time. Fire-eating Shio finally understood what it meant to live a life worse than death. It was simply unlucky for 8 lifetimes. It must have owed this wretched girl in its previous life. Ever since it met her, the fire marrow had disappeared. Ever since it met her, it had been played around. Ever since it met her, it had changed from a level 45 demonic beast to a kitten. Woo, it didn't want to live anymore. At this time, the sky had completely darkened. Mischievous was afraid of attracting other demonic beasts, so she put the 3 silly cubs into her storage ring and then entered the belly of the mountain from last time. Although many days had passed, the belly of the mountain was still very hot. Mischievous felt that there might still be remnants of fire marrow underground. Otherwise, the temperature in the belly of the mountain would not be so high all the time. Mischievous blocked the entrance of the cave with a stone and took out the luminous pearl to illuminate it. Then she took out a chair and sat on it. She looked at the fire-eating Shio that was dead on the ground with a faint smile. "Kitten, do you want to return to your original appearance?" Fire-eating Shio, who was pretending to be dead on the ground, immediately jumped up. It opened its mouth and said, "Aim." The last bit of self-respect in fire-eating Shio's heart had also disappeared. Damn it, even its voice had changed. It was really too ashamed to see a beast. Mischievous laughed until her stomach hurt. This transfiguration pill was really a great invention. To humans, it was a transfiguration pill, but to demonic beasts, it was a transfiguration pill. Fire-eating Shio dared to be angry but did not dare to speak. It bit the corner of Yun Chujia's skirt and acted coquettishly without a teacher. The corner of Yun Chujia's eyes twitched. When she thought of the hill-sized fire-eating Shio acting coquettishly to her, she felt goosebumps all over her body. Yun Chujio kicked the fire-eating Shio and rolled it away. She sneered and said, "Now you know how to please me? Weren't you very awesome before?" The fire-eating Shio had no choice but to lower its head and curl up into a ball. It looked at Yun Chujio pitifully. It had already thought it through. If its face was gone, so be it. Now, only this stinky girl could make it return to its original state. It would first make her happy and then find a chance to take revenge in the future. Yun Chujio curled her lips. "Don't pretend to be pitiful with me. I still don't know what you're thinking. Don't you plan to get the antidote first and then settle the score with me?" The fire-eating Shio lowered its head guiltily and didn't dare to look at Yun Chujio. It was aiming at her. This wretched girl was simply inhuman. How did she know what it was thinking? Yun Chujio rubbed her chin and thought for a moment. Actually, she didn't really want to take in this fire-eating Shio. Although the 4 in her spirit beast pouch were very weak now, their potential in the future was endless. Although this fire-eating Shio had returned to its original form and was still quite formidable at the moment, there was probably limited space for it to grow in the future. When the fire-eating Shio saw the change in Yun Chujio's expression, it could not figure out what Yun Chujio was thinking. It felt that this little girl was quite strange. Shouldn't ordinary people take advantage of the situation and contract it? It was equivalent to a human's 6th layer of spiritual space. Yun Chujio glanced at the fire-eating Shio. "I really dislike you. Your rank is too low. You're neither a divine beast nor an immortal beast. You're not even a mutated beast. Tell me, if I take you in, I'll lower my style." Fire-eating Shio was so angry that it was twitching. "You're really shameless. Divine beast? Immortal beast? Mutated beast? Do you think these are all cabbages? You want to take me in, but am not willing. I, a dignified 45th tier demonic beast, acknowledge you, a weak chicken, as its master? In your dreams." When the fire-eating Shio was beyond redemption, Yun Chujio continued, "Now there are only 2 choices. One is to take you in as a spiritual pet, and the other is for me to kill you. Which do you choose? Why don't you choose to die? After all, you're so useless. It's a waste of resources to live." "Meow, there's no way to live." Fire-eating Shio fainted for the 4th time, and it fainted with its eyes open. It simply fainted with its eyes open, all right. Yun Chujio ignored it. She took out the stone table, placed the food on it, and began to eat dinner. After waking up, fire-eating Shio sniffed and quietly ran to the side to chew on the ore. However, it tragically discovered that the ore, which was originally like tofu, was now unable to chew on. Moreover, it tragically discovered that the human food that it originally disdained was now extremely attractive to it. Meow. Could it be that its body had turned into a cat, so its appetite had also turned into a fire-breathing cat? It could no longer live. The fire-eating Shio originally wanted to be a fierce beast that would rather die than submit, but it would rather die than stay alive. Moreover, it was so hungry. The fire-eating Shio slowly approached Yun Chujio's feet and used its claws to pull the corner of Yun Chujio's skirt in a fawning manner. "Take a look." Yun Chujio lowered her head and looked at the fire-eating Shio that had transformed into a cat. She threw a meat bun to it out of kindness. The fire-eating Shio immediately caught it with its claws and began to devour it. "Meow, it's so delicious, so delicious." Yun Chujio held her chin as she looked at the fire-eating Shio. In her previous life, she had seen many little girls raising cats, but because of her special status, she had never had the opportunity to raise one. Now, raising one looked pretty good. In the future, she would find the lotus seeds of the 1,000-leaf golden grade lotus and the dragon blood ginseng and refine a lot of transfiguration pills. When that time came, she would let the fire-eating Shio maintain its appearance as a cat. Yes, that was what she would do. The certain Xiao, who was crazily chewing on the meat bun, did not know that his miserable days had been set in stone at this moment. In the countless nights that followed, the certain Xiao would be filled with regret. He had betrayed his moral integrity because of a meat bun. He had betrayed the dignity of the fire-eating Xiao. Sob, sob, don't say anything else. They were all tears. Hey, cat cub, do you choose to die or choose to be my spiritual beast? A certain Xiao stared at the meat bun on the table. Aim. Yun Chujio curled her lips. Using a meat bun to kidnap a spiritual beast, so be it. Yun Chujio bit her middle finger and established a contract with the fire-eating Xiao. The fire-eating Xiao did not recover for a long time. She actually established an equal contract with it? Was this little girl stupid? Didn't she know that the master pet contract was more restrictive to it? Little master, why did you establish an equal contract with me? Fire-eating Xiao stiffly changed the little girl to the little master. Yun Chujio threw a meat bun to fire-eating Xiao and said indifferently, "You don't owe me anything. I don't need you to die with me. If I really die, you'll be free." Fire-eating Xiao was stunned for a moment. In his heart, it seemed that he was no longer that conflicted about being bound by the contract. "Master, quickly give me the antidote." Fire-eating Xiao regained his senses and recalled the important matter. Yun Chujio touched her nose. "Cough, cough, I don't have the antidote." Fire-eating Xiao. In the cave, the miserable meowing of a cat could be heard. "Take a look, you are lying." "No, lying Xiao. I don't want to live anymore." Yun Chujio's eyes twitched. Could it be that this body had turned into a fire-breathing cat and its personality had changed drastically? It was obviously a Tyrannosaurus Rex. How did it turn into a silly little cutie now? "Stop howling. If a human had taken so many of your transformation pills, they would have returned to normal in 8 days. As for how long it would take for you to return to normal, I don't know." When the fire-eating Xiao heard that it could return to normal, it stopped howling and lowered its head to continue eating the meat buns. It couldn't be helped. Its body had become smaller and it would take a while to eat a bun. "Sob, how sad." Yun Chujio asked the fire-eating Xiao to be on alert, and she slept through the night in a daze. The night was peaceful. It was probably the fire-eating Xiao's territory, so normal demonic beasts didn't dare to come over. Of course, this was because the time was short. If a few more days passed, those demonic beasts wouldn't be able to feel the pressure of the fire-eating Xiao and would definitely come over to test it out. The next morning, Yun Chujio put some ores into her storage ring for the fire-eating Xiao to eat in the future. Yun Chujio left the belly of the mountain, carried the fire-eating Xiao onto the flying spirit tool, and headed to Heaven Punisher Academy's Tianluo City. Although the fire-eating Xiao was still a little uncomfortable, it was very curious about the colorful world outside. If it wasn't curious, it wouldn't have become a kitten. Yun Chujio was afraid that the fire-eating Xiao would expose her identity. When she got off the flying spirit tool, she put the fire-eating Xiao into the spirit beast bag. Yun Chujio entered Tianluo City and found an inn to stay in. Then, she sent a message to Shui Wuji and Jin Ji, agreeing on the time and place to meet the next day. In order to avoid complications, Yun Chujio did not leave the inn for the whole day. At noon the next day, Yun Chujio checked out of the room and went to a hidden place to change her clothes. She put on a bamboo hat and made several turns to the courtyard rented by the Yi family's guards. Although the Yi family's guards were curious about the bamboo hat that Miss Mao had brought, they did not suspect anything when they saw the token in Yun Chujio's hand and heard her voice. Soon, Shui Wuji and Jin Ji arrived as well. The three of them entered the house and Yun Chujio took off the bamboo hat. The effects of the medicine would only dissipate in the evening. Yun Chujio told the two of them about what had happened and then asked about the situation in the academy. Over the past 2 days, many people have gathered at the Heavenly Dao Cliff. I heard that the academy organized people to investigate the situation, but it seems that they did not find anything, Jinji said. Yun Chujio said proudly, "It would be a miracle if they found anything." "Alright, I'll let you guys take a look at my new cat cub." Although Shui Wuji and Jin Ji heard Yun Chujia's rough description, they were still shocked when they saw the fire-eating Xiu. It was completely a fire-breathing cat cub. No one would have thought that it was actually a level 45 fire-eating Xiu. Jin Ji, on the other hand, thought that the fire-eating Xiu was very cute. She wanted to tease it, but she did not expect the fire-eating Xiu to ignore her arrogantly. Yun Chujio pouted at the side and said, "This is a foodie. If you give it some food, it will please you." The fire-eating Xiu looked like it had nothing to live for. It was just hungry yesterday, okay? It would not abandon its integrity just for a mouthful of food. However, when it saw the dried fish in Jin Ji's hand, it immediately circled around Jin Ji in a flattering manner. It felt very helpless in its heart. It did not want to be like this, but the dried fish looked so delicious. Meow meow meow. There was nothing wrong with cat love eating fish, right? That night, the three of them did not return to Xingtian Academy. Instead, they stayed in the house for the night. The next day, after breakfast, Yun Chujio and the other two left the house and went to the grocery store. When they arrived at the grocery store, Yun Chujio said to the shop assistant, "I want all the talisman papers here. Also, give me 200 talisman pens." The shop assistant, "Miss, you're not joking, right?" The shop assistant wondered if she was still asleep. She wanted all the talisman paper in their store? And 200 talisman pens? Was she planning to use the talisman paper as firewood? Or to use the talisman pen as chopsticks? Yun Chujio widened her eyes. "This shop assistant of yours is really interesting. Of course, I'm not joking. He'll give you as much money as you want. Hurry up." Although the man still felt that this matter was ridiculous, he still let the cashier do the calculations and said, "Miss, thank you for your patronage. A total of 6 million upper-grade spiritual stones." Yun Chujio nodded and readily transferred the spiritual stones to the cashier. Only now did the clerk believe that this person was really a big customer. The smile on his face suddenly became much more sincere, and he transferred the talisman paper and the talisman pen to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio bought a bunch of miscellaneous things and then left the grocery store. The three of them strolled around for a while, and when they were about to find a restaurant to eat, they met Lu Jinluan and his sister. Lu Jinluan saw Yun Chujio and wanted to go forward to seek revenge, but she was stopped by Lu Pinyin. Lu Jinluan glared at Yun Chujio viciously and then left. Yun Chujio didn't put them in her eyes at all. Anyway, there were a lot of people who hated her, so she didn't need these two garlic heads. After the three of them had lunch, they strolled back to Xingtian Academy. Yun Chujio returned to her courtyard and rested for a while. Then she took out the ball of yarn and asked about the Great Void Mirror. "Ball of yarn, what new abilities does little Jingjing have now? Can she take out the earth-grade herbs inside? Can the high-level demon beasts inside help me fight the enemy?" Mao Mao Chio trembled slightly. "Well, Master, it's not that we can't take them out now. The main thing is that there aren't too many high-level herbs and demon beasts inside the Great Void Mystic Realm right now." Yun Chujio was stunned. She recalled that there really didn't seem to be any high-level herbs and demon beasts inside the Great Void Mystic Realm. Then why did she go through so much trouble to find the fragment? Was she being played? Mao Chio saw that the pressure on Yun Chujio's body was getting lower and lower. She quickly explained, Master, don't be angry. The thing is, Xiao Jingjing said that when you find the other fragment, it will become your interstitial space. It will grow along with your spiritual power. When that time comes, you will have both heaven-level herbs and high-level demonic beasts. Bullshit. I finally realized that the 3 shameless people in my dantian are all scammers. Damn Xiao Jingjing, it is using me. What bullshit interstitial space? When I find the remaining fragment, it might not be able to do anything to me. Yun Chujio was absolutely furious. Mao Mao Chio said with a trembling voice, Master, Xiao Jingjing said that it saved you once. You cannot be ungrateful. Yun Chujio almost choked with anger. I'm ungrateful? They drank and lived in my house. And who was it that went through so much trouble to find those 7 fragments? it's me, it's all me. Tell it, if it dares to lie to me again, I'll smash it into a sky full of stars in the future. The ball of yarn trembled even more violently. Was there a sky full of stars? The mirror fragments flashed across its mind. It was so scary. It had to hide its little secret well and not let her know. Seeing that Yun Chujio was still furious, the ball of yarn comforted itself. Forget it. It would be better to go back and knit its sweater set. A craftsman would not stoop to the level of a rude person like her. Yun Chujio was filled with anger. Hence, the guy took out the talisman paper and started to draw the earth-splitting talisman. 1, 2, 5, 10. The guy was drawing faster and faster. Later, he decided to draw with both hands. Soon, there was a thick stack of super-grade earth-splitting talismans on the table. After drawing a few sacks of super-grade earth-splitting talismans, the guy felt that the anger in his heart had dissipated a lot. This fellow consoled himself. Being at a disadvantage meant that he was enjoying his life, while being at a disadvantage meant that he was taking advantage. No matter what, he could still hide in the supreme void mirror at critical moments. Moreover, if he was trapped somewhere, at least he was not afraid of dying of thirst or starvation because of the supreme void mirror. Therefore, the supreme void mirror was still useful. Yun Chujio consoled herself for a while and took out the lesson schedule for the next day to take a look. There was a second-grade talisman lesson the next day, but she felt that Teacher Young only taught 1/10 of the earth-shattering talisman in one class. She reckoned that he wouldn't be able to teach other talismans in a short time, so she decided to go to the 3rd grade to freeload. Although Yun Chujio had received a talisman inheritance from the Heavenly Dao Cliff back then, the grade was too high. Her current spiritual power was simply unable to draw it, so she could only freeload from the class. The next afternoon, Teacher Young braced himself and entered the 2nd grade's day class. He had already made up his mind that he was wrong. He wanted to clarify the truth to everyone and give Yun Chujio justice. However, Teacher Young scanned the classroom and did not find Yun Chujio. He could not help but feel guilty. Could it be that the little girl did not have the courage to come and listen after being wronged? On the other side, a certain Gio was already sitting in the classroom of the 3rd grade's day class. When the 3rd grade students saw Yun Chujio swagger in, they only had one thought in their hearts. Fuck, this Yun Chujio had caused trouble for the 2nd grade and started causing trouble for the 3rd grade? They dared to be angry but did not dare to say anything. They could only hope that Teacher Chi, who was in class later, would kick this freeloader out. However, they were quickly disappointed. When Teacher Chi walked into the classroom and saw Yun Chujio, she was first stunned. Then her old face smiled like a flower. Everyone wants to learn from Yun Chujio. Look at her. She even came to the 3rd grade to listen to class after class. She's so hardworking. The students, fuck. What was going on? Why would Teacher Chi praise this troublemaker in public? Hardworking? Bullshit. She was here to cause trouble. How could a first-year freshman like her understand a 3rd-year talisman lesson? The students were dumbfounded, but they did not dare to say anything. They felt that Teacher Chi must have taken the wrong medicine. Yun Chujio was also a little confused. She was already used to being treated coldly with a straight face. She did not expect to be praised today. She was really not used to it. Teacher Chi smiled kindly at Yun Chujio, then he said, "Today, we will learn the level 11 talisman, Ice Condensing Talisman. Once the Ice Condensing Talisman is activated, it can slow down the movements of the enemy. Although it is only effective for a few breaths, the battlefield will change in an instant. In a few breaths, the situation will be reversed." Yun Chujio's eyes were wide open. This Ice Condensing Talisman was really not bad. It was a good treasure for escaping. Although one can only last for a few breaths of time, you can use it more. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.